All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, a new CNN poll is out with some pretty fascinating results for the Biden versus Trump head-to-head matchup. Biden does currently lead Trump nationally, but in a 2016-esque nightmare scenario for Democrats, Trump is actually leading in the battleground states. Word of caution is required here, however. The battleground states poll does have a larger margin of error, and other polls of the top battleground states appear to give Biden the edge right now. In fact, a Wisconsin poll this week has Biden edging Trump by 3. Honestly, though, this race should have been Trump's to lose. What we've seen with the coronavirus pandemic is that the American public is overwhelmingly grateful to any politician in leadership who appears even vaguely commanding and proactive, regardless of party affiliation. Republican Mike DeWine of Ohio is now sitting on the highest approval rating for a governor in the nation after having proactively moved that state's primary and imposed shutdown early. A full 86% of Ohioans approve of DeWine's coronavirus handling. As we've covered here, Andrew Cuomo, he's actually not done that great a job substantively on coronavirus response, but he has projected that big boss man energy and had a major assist from the media. So 81% of New York residents rate his handling favorably. Cuomo's numbers to me are actually so revealing because they say that you don't actually even have to do a good job. You just have to project that you're doing a good job to win overwhelmingly positive reviews. Even that low mark, Trump has been utterly unable to hit. If he had literally just put Fauci on TV every day and said, absolutely, Dr. Fauci, we have assembled the best experts and are following their lead, he'd probably have a 70% approval rating right now. Our standards are so incredibly low for decent governance that we would have gratefully accepted just something moderately sane. While governors with only moderately competent responses are enjoying soaring approval ratings, Trump's own response to coronavirus is underwater. Now, I know a lot of folks are thinking, how does anyone give him a positive rating at all? But the truth is, Americans look to their leaders in times of crisis, and they want to see the best. He just hasn't given them a lot to work with, which is why on the question of who will handle coronavirus better, Sleepy Joe from the basement, unable to successfully execute a live stream, is actually beating Trump on that metric. It's pathetic, to be honest with you. Per CNN, 51% say that Joe would do a better job with the virus to Trump's 45%. And that tracks nearly exactly with support for Joe for president. In fact, the last CNN survey back in early April mirrored this exact same dynamic. Everyone is now a single-issue voter. Who will best handle the pandemic? That's it. Now, Democrats have been expressing concern about Joe's basement campaign and inability to break through on social media. But the truth is, Sleepy Joe in the basement might actually be the campaign's best bet. Sure, if Joe were a different candidate, he could be leading the charge, he could be inspiring the masses, galvanizing the resistance. Instead, he's following what is probably the best advice he's received from Alex Wagner. Stay alive, Joe Biden. Alex wrote, Biden was never really convincing anyone on the stump. His political power at this point is an idea held collectively about how to defeat Trump. The work now is to keep that idea convincing enough for long enough among as many people as possible for the corporeal man to actually win. Just keep that circa 2008 Joe Biden flame burning bright in the electorate's mind so that they can graft onto him their own incredibly modest ambitions for a moderately competent response. It's the best possible approach, and yet it certainly doesn't guarantee victory. Joe should feel very nervous to have Trump nipping at his heels as he is. At any moment, he could muster an actually respectable response and turn things around. But truth be told, through another accident of history, Joe's uninspiring let's just go back argument has never looked better to a whole lot of voters, especially to our elders. In the CNN crosstabs, that generational dynamic is so fascinating and is consistent also with other polls. While Trump is actually doing better with younger voters this time around, Biden has picked up major steam with older voters. In fact, while the two are more or less tied with voters under 45, Biden has a 6-point edge with those over 45. Of course, it makes a lot of sense. Older voters already past their peak earning years are concerned first and foremost with staying alive. They don't need any big structural transformations, and they'll be gone before the climate implodes. Just going back to a normal time, a sleepier time, sounds pretty damn good. Sleepy Joe might have made sense as a Trump-given nickname in a different time, evoking as it does lunchtime at the retirement home. But now, lunchtime at the retirement home is sounding like about all the excitement anybody really wants. Everyone would dearly love to just be able to go back to sleep and be able to stop thinking about tests and antibodies and face masks and refrigerated trucks filled with dead bodies. Last time Trump had Make America Great Again. This time we're just looking for Make America semi-functional again. It's all very inspiring stuff. No one is excited. And speaking of not being excited, Biden is currently winning the I hate everyone vote. As a recent Politico article pointed out, the pick your poison voter demo swung hard against Hillary Clinton last time around. In fact, that voter was a crucial part of the Trump coalition and strategy. Dirty everyone up and give voters permission to make that naughty Trump choice. This time around, that vote is sitting squarely with Biden. And frankly, it's a large contingent. 25% of voters dislike both the candidates. And according to a recent Monmouth poll, the former vice president leads that group by 40 points. Watching the basement campaign versus the sacrifice grandma to the virus campaign, it strikes me that this group of haters may actually be the key demo to watch. When my sister was little, she asked my dad which one of us he loved the most. And when he refused to answer, she reframed the question to, well, which one of us do you hate the least? That may end up being the operative question this election that ultimately keeps Joe alive.
Yep.
I thought those numbers in particular were fascinating because, as you know, that was the group that was like, this all sucks and I hate all of these people. They ultimately overwhelmingly voted for Trump. This time around, they look right now like they're going to Biden because he's just like at least not screwing things up actively in real time. They can kind of imagine, as long as he stays hidden, a better response, their ideal better response based on their, imagined image of him from the past. And so that's where things stand today.
I think Trump's real chance at re-election comes all down to the economic response. And he knows that, but they're not taking the right way. So like the campaign, we saw this yesterday with Mark Lauder. He's going to rebuild. He built a great economy. This is the new line. He built an economy. He's going to build it again the second time around. His numbers, the only numbers where he's above Biden are trust for the economic response. That will go south if they do not embrace a huge fiscal plan.
Right.
And that's just the truth. I mean, look, 2 more months of this, it's over. I mean, we're talking about small business firms. Already 100,000 small businesses are closed. We're talking about probably, 40, 50 million people that would still be on unemployment. Already, the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, we'll talk about this later, says that 40% of households under $40,000 were unemployed in March, just March, not April. So, look, that is catastrophe numbers. And the country will always give its president a chance.
Yeah, they will.
You've got about a month left, I think, in order to do anything. And the real issue is he's listening to people like McConnell and Mnuchin and others in his camp who say, hey, we spent all this money. Let's just wait and see how it works out. I mean, can you imagine being in the middle of the Great Depression and saying, let's wait and see how this goes? No. Look, here's the truth about the New Deal. Most of the stuff in there didn't work. Some of it, even that, the entire bill is out on whether that did. But the appearance of action was more important than the efficacy of action because it gave the nation some belief that everything possibly that could be done was being done. And that's why FDR had like 80% approval ratings. That's why Cuomo has an 80% approval rating, even though he catastrophically
he has failed
the whole thing up.
Right.
So from a fiscal response, my thinking on this is throw everything you have at the wall. Everything. Embrace it all. And yeah, look, I mean, nobody's saying we should be spending gajillions for the rest of our lives. But at this moment of crisis, if you don't do it and somebody else says that they will, you're going to lose every single time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And those numbers with the governors, and I know we've talked about this a few times, but I think they're so instructive because it shows you that people do want to believe in their leader. And it's not partisan. I mean, our politics in general are so partisan, so divided, like your opinion of what's happening is just purely driven by your partisan identification. But this is such a big crisis that it has actually broken through that. And so, yes, even no one is saying like it's Trump's fault that we have a virus. So that gives him the opportunity. He could be sitting on a massive electoral landslide if he had handled this properly, right? Not even just like, oh, he could edge him out. He could be sitting on those 70% coronavirus response approval ratings. And right now, and this is the problem for them, is yes, if you look in those numbers, and this was in the CNN poll as well, Biden edges Trump just barely, which is also pathetic in its own right, on who would handle coronavirus better. And Trump edges Biden on who would handle the economy better. But right now, people are voting on the virus. They just want to get through the pandemic. And that's what we see in the numbers, too, in terms of how many people are more concerned with reopening the economy too quickly versus staying shut down too long. People are much more concerned about reopening and risking their health. That is what this is about right now. Now, maybe that'll shift, right?
Maybe
that'll shift by the time we get to November.
Is very stupid.
That's not where people are right now. Right now, they just want you to keep them safe. That's it. I mean, it's very, very simple. It's such a basic, fear, and justifiably so. That sense of fear is so powerful. It's such a powerful emotion. You would think Trump has had such good political instincts in other times. You would think he would understand that, but he hasn't seemed to be able to galvanize the appropriate response.
It's ideology. That's all it is. It's ideology, and you see it ruling both parties. I mean, Nancy Pelosi puts forward a $3 trillion bill and doesn't include payroll protection.
It's insane.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing. Biden, where is the call for a payroll protection plan? You look at the Republican Party. There's literally a civil war going on right now between Josh Hawley. Cory Gardner signed on to that plan that I was telling everyone about. And I think that is actually very important. The most vulnerable Republican in the United States Senate is we got to go with this jobs thing. Everybody look to Cory. Cory's not stupid. Can read the polls coming out of his state just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And I mean, the path to victory is right there. But ideology in both parties is so wedded to not actually helping out the regular American people that I just don't know if it can be surmounted at this time.
And on the other hand, if Joe was a different candidate who was able to really inspire people and had this grassroots base behind him and was out front putting pressure on Pelosi to craft the response.
It would change everything.
It would. And he would be on his way to electoral landslide given Trump's inadequate response. We know that he can't do that for a variety of reasons. Part of it is ideology, right? He just doesn't really believe in that bigger response, next to FDR, notwithstanding. Yeah, right. But it also is just, he's not up to that task right now. And so, I think letting people imagine what they hope Joe Biden would be like is probably the best approach.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right, we're going to have more Rising for you after this.